in. This is The Herd, wherever you may be and however you may be making this part of your day. Thanks so much. Whether you listen on the iHeart Radio app, SiriusXM Channel 83, or any of our hundreds of Fox Sports Radio affiliates, thank you so much. Joy Taylor alongside. We've been reacting to all the news of last night, today, in the world of sports. Getting you ready for a huge weekend. We got the best for last upcoming this hour. We'll tell you which NBA players should be cast in the new Space Jam 2, which I believe they will record this summer, and then in a year it'll come out that LeBron announced going back 2 days or so ago. Well, the NBA yesterday, there was big news. It came a day after the Zion Williamson shoe incident. The NBA is proposing a rule to change its entry age from 19 to 18. I want to talk about why. 2 nights ago, there was Duke versus North Carolina, and it was as hyped a regular season game as we feel like we've had in a long time in college basketball, and there's a couple reasons to it. One, let's not bury the lead. We haven't seen a kid like Zion Williamson. Have we seen breakthrough college freshmen? Absolutely. But have we seen breakthrough college freshmen that are 6'6", 285 pounds, that jump the way that he jumps, plays as hard as the way he plays? No, it feels like something a little bit different. And then he's a Dookie who you like. That's a little bit different. You combine that with the fact they're taking on North Carolina. It's the best rivalry in the sport of college basketball. And, traditionally they've had great ratings anyway. And then you factor in that ESPN smartly moved it to a later date than normally they play. It was the latest they'd ever played. And it was the last day before the big boys came back to play. And then you had former President Obama, who's courtside. You factor all these things in, and I don't know anyone who considers themselves a sports fan that didn't have something, family or a date, that wasn't at least watching, just curiosity. 30 seconds in, he blows a tire, and it wasn't just that he ripped the shoe. The entire bottom of the shoe rips off. It looked like some LA gear he was wearing. And then the pundits start throwing things out, and former players start ripping the NCAA. Zion limps off. He misses the rest of the game with a sprained knee, and we collectively lose our mind. Yesterday, we found out that Zion Williamson just has a mild knee sprain, which is what it looked like. Thankfully, kid's going to be fine. But college basketball is supposed to be fun. Do colleges make money off of the games that are broadcast? Yeah, they do. Here's a news flash. I don't know if you know this. Colleges make money off of all of their students. Off the back of all their students, they do. And they don't pay taxes on it. And then they ask for more money from their alums based upon the success of their students who become alums. And then once you graduate, then they want some more money. That's just the way. Part of it is they're getting less and less money from the state if they're a public institution. Part of it is if they're a private institution, this is how they got to continue to generate and grow their endowment. And part of it is just kind of the nature of how their business works. But we operate under this, somehow it's sinister for colleges to make money off of basketball and football players. And by the way, the reality of it is they make a lot more money off football than they do off basketball, And the football money that is made is not actually made by the NCAA. The basketball money that's made by the NCAA is made off the NCAA tournament. And that's simply because everybody I know and everybody you know fills out a tournament bracket. That's where the real money is. The volume of sports, the logo across the front of the chest. Look, Zion Williamson played made for basketball events against LaMelo Ball that was, no one could get into a gym in Las Vegas, but it wasn't a happening on TV until he played for Duke and they played North Carolina. There's a power to that brand. There's value to that brand. But more than anything, I was blown away and kind of embarrassed for many of my brethren in the media and a lot of former players who have said that Zion Williamson should shut it down. Now, for the record, shutting it down does not mean if the kid's hurt, he doesn't play. That's different. Shutting it down means healthy scratch. And we've seen shutting it down. That's what Kawhi Leonard was accused of doing last year. That's what Anthony Davis was basically accused of doing before the All-Star break when he hurt his shoulder. And the Pelicans are trying to figure out what to do with him. A healthy scratch to a kid who's 18 years old who tweaked his knee, When did playing basketball become some dangerous endeavor like being a middle linebacker or running back or a wide receiver in football? Right? Like, do I want him to get hurt? No. Do I think that he's injured? No. And if he's healthy, should he play? Yes. Why? Because you're a basketball player. You came to Duke to play basketball. If you wanted to simply be a professional, he could have, even before the proposed rule change, he could have gone to the G League. He could have benefited off his name and likeness and had a shoe deal. He could have thrown down dunks, and we wouldn't have seen or watched all games. The level of competition or the level of talent is actually better in the G League than it is college basketball, but it doesn't have the names across the front of the chest, doesn't have the coaches, doesn't have the arenas, doesn't have the field, doesn't have the fun. Like, look, college basketball is fun. I've played it. It's the best. It is exactly what you think it is. It's the best year to 5 or 6. Was it Chris Farley said 7 years of your life? You're playing with a bunch of dudes who you live around, who you grow up around. It's your first chance to be away from home. You're playing for an old crotchety coach and trying to figure out how to kind of fit in, how to grow up. And then you win, you lose, you go out afterwards. And whether you have a beer or you have a soda or you have a Gatorade or whatever, you're hanging out playing video games. Like, it's exactly what you think it is. And just like youth sports is ruined by kids, we are trying to ruin college sports. Youth sports is ruined for kids by adults. It's the same thing that's happening with college athletics. We are ruining it because we're getting away from the core of what it's about. Here's Charles Barkley last night inside the NBA.
When did we ever get to the point where all people care about is money? Shaq played college for 2 years. Three. Kenny played for 4. I played for 3. Michael Jordan played for 3. Tim Duncan played for 4. David Robinson played for 4. Some of the greatest players ever. Wilt Chamberlain, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson played. When we get to the point where you got clowns on television saying, oh, don't play. That's what you do, Ernie. That's what we do. We play basketball. I mean, I don't ever want to see anybody get hurt. This kid looks like he's going to be a fantastic player. But I get so mad when people act like money's the only thing that matters in the world. Like, oh, dude, you're going to go in the NBA, don't play. I mean, that's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. It is like I want you to protect your asset in Zion Williamson because I want him to profit off it, but not play basketball, not experience arguably the greatest 3 weeks in all of sports. Why would you wish that upon somebody? Either way, he's going to make a ridiculous amount of money. You're like, no, he's not. Yeah, Nerlens Noel tore his ACL, and he was still a top 5 pick. Joel Embiid was a top 5 pick, and no one knew what he would be. Zion Williamson will be fine, and the likelihood of an additional injury, if he's fine, is slight at best. But we're not even talking about injury. We're talking, you got guys like Boogie Cousins who played in college basketball, and the cut that's being used today is Boogie saying that college basketball is BS, and he wouldn't have him play. Kind of buried in that cut is Boogie Cousins saying this.
I love my experience in college. That was some of the best years of my life playing basketball. But with that being said, just how crooked the whole NCAA business is. And I actually saw a post the other day where it was, I think the highest ticket for that UNC Duke game was $2,500, $3,500. How much does Zion Williamson see? That's who they're coming to see. So how much of that is he getting? Actually, who does it go to? How does it benefit any player on that team that is able to get $20 in a free meal? They're this bad kid, they get a bad rep, uncoachable, thugs, whatever the case may be. So it's bull. It's been bull.
Well, just to be fair, and I actually have had dinner with Boogie Cousins, and I like him a great deal, and he's a bright guy who's going through his own kind of process of evolution. And he was a pain in the ass, and that's why he got run out of Sacramento. And that's why they were better when he got hurt in New Orleans, is he has gotten better and evolved as a person. And no one has ever said a guy's a bad kid for getting $20 in a meal. By the way, the whole idea of anyone not eating in college is complete BS to anyone who's ever been a college athlete. No one, the Hungry Huskies thing that UConn lived on is a joke. It's a lie. And by the way, the NCAA is not crooked. Do I think they're always aligned with the goal of what's best in the mind of the student athlete? No, there's some conflicting alliances, but they actually show you exactly where all the money goes. He's talking about the secondary ticket market, which doesn't go to Duke basketball, doesn't go to Duke athletics. It goes to the secondary ticket market. Just focus on the part that he said, best time of my life. Because you're just playing it's about the sport. Because the sport is supposed to be fun. That's why sports were designed. To work out, get a little aerobic activity. Like, that was the whole idea of basketball, and Dr. James Naismith invented it as a PE coach for competition. And then to get a group of guys together, you live together, you eat together, you sleep together, you work out together, you win together, you lose together. And you start at the start of the year and you end at the end of the year. And if you're fortunate enough, if you're lucky enough to win 4 games, you get to play in front of 75,000 people. And even the guys that have turned so bitter on the NCAA, because that's what we do, we're bitter on any sort of organizing group, Congress, the NFL, maybe not the NBA because Adam Silver bows to their every whim. We get away from the idea that, like, you're a basketball player. You get a chance to play basketball. Finish the season, have fun, and the ancillary benefit of having success in college, just like any student, is you get a kick-ass first job. And that's what's going to happen with Zion Williamson after just 1 year at Duke. And so I'm just one of these people that I don't understand why we're pushing him away from playing, acting like we're protecting this asset that doesn't need to be protected. It's a good conversation to have as long as you're open-minded to it. And I do think that the idea of the NBA opening up the draft to being 18 instead of 19, that's going to solidify the stance of the NCAA, which is like, hey, if you want to be a pro, go be a pro. If you want to come to college, here's the way we roll here. We give you room, board, fees. By the way, just getting into college, if anybody has a high school student out there, you know what I'm talking about. It is way harder to get into college than it ever was when we were kids. Way more difficult. Unless you're a student athlete, which it's easier. And I do believe it should be. I believe there's a certain leveling of the playing field there. But it's easier to get in. It's easier to stay in and be successful. And they've created all these other rules where even when you leave, you can come back, potentially get a master's degree. And then, by the way, I'm not sure if you're paying attention, but the people carrying debt from college is skyrocketing because it's more and more expensive. It's hard to get into, more expensive than it's ever been. And so what you saw yesterday in the NBA announcing a proposal, which is likely at some point to go through in changing the age limit of NBA draftees from 19 to 18, is going to solidify that to all of you who are calling for colleges to allow the student athletes to either get compensated or to get paid for the name and likeness, it's not happening. Because if you want to be a pro, go be a pro. If you want to be a college player, be a college player. Zion Williamson made this decision. He knew what he's doing, okay? And it was the right decision. He's aligned himself with Coach K, with Duke. He's improved his draft stack, improved his body, improved his game. It's a win-win. Stop chasing him away from a team. Let him finish out the season. This isn't football and a meaningless bowl game and putting yourself in harm's way. This is basketball, a career which, frankly, is the safest and best and most fun and the most envied about in all of sports. And he has a chance to play however many games remaining in arguably the most prestigious uniform for the most prestigious coach in the most prestigious tournament still remaining on in America. Why are we chasing away from that? Because we want him to put money and his future ahead of being a kid. You can only be a kid once. Once. You show me a problem that money fixes, and money does fix some problems, but I'll show you 15 that it creates. James Harden went off on the officiating last night. It was a good message, but the wrong messenger. I'll explain why next. I'm Doug Gottlieb. She's Joy Taylor. This is The Herd.